Changes in the jet stream are upon us. As we head later into the month of December, it does look like this shift could bring some impacts, serious impacts for holiday travel across portions of the nation that have yet to have too much in the way of weather woes heading into the month of December. We're going to break down this upper level shift at the jet stream level and how that may impact travel heading into the holiday season right now. Let's take a look at this from a perspective of looking down at the Earth from the North Pole. This is a look at the jet stream winds as we head into mid portions of December, now on December the 13th. And what you're going to notice here is this big dip out in the Pacific in the jet stream flow, then a ridge. We call this a ridge where it rises up all over into northern parts of Canada, and then another dip or trough in this flow as we go off toward the east coast. This pattern has been fairly consistent, and it has really blocked much of the wintry weather from hitting the northern plains, and the storm track has been much more active with the subtropical jet that you see down here working its way through the Gulf Coast and along the East Coast as well. Now, here, when we set this into motion, from now, you'll be able to see a little bit of the detail in the breakdown of this current pattern along the West Coast in particular. Here comes, as we head into the 17th of the month, this weekend, what we call a little cutoff low down here. And this sets the stage for the next wave that you see back here moving off the Aleutian chain and heading off of the continent of Asia toward the lower 48 to dive a little bit deeper south. Watch what I mean. Check this out as we set it back into motion. This wave of energy out to the west starts to really have a punch, and boom, this cutoff low has more potential. I'm going to pause this here, as what we're looking at right now is a system that's working its way on the 23rd. And look at where these systems are now impacting: California and the southwestern United States. This digging deeper of this trough out over the western portion of the United States means that the storm track looks to shift south. California may see more frequent storm systems work its way through that neck of the woods, and that means the central and southern Rockies could get into the game as well as we close out the month. Now, watch what happens as we head into the holiday season. A very strong wave of energy digs deep into the central and southern plains, and this here, folks, is right around the Christmas holiday, both before and after. So we have an active shift in the pattern taking place across the lower 48 as we go through and head toward the holiday season. So what we're going to look at next is a look at what that means from two different models, the American and the European model for holiday travel. Now, models this far out are going to change, but when we see some consistencies in both of these longer range models, both the American and European, it's definitely worth opening our eyes for. And the fact that there is a shift that we've been expecting in the jet stream flow for a more typical El Nino pattern that's about to take place, this is not strange. So I, as a meteorologist, do tend to buy it. By the way, let's take just a little bit of a look at what we have going on the American model. The American model showing us the track of the upper level pattern as we go through the, have a look at the lower 48 states here. Here it is. Now, as we start this over, we're going to head over to our pattern now. We have this ridge out here, quiet weather, and what you're looking at is about the mid-atmospheric flow, about midway through the atmosphere. And we do have some unsettled weather on the 15th of the month working its way through the central plains. Now, as we put this into motion again and carry ourselves through, the wave of energy heads to a frequent spot this winter, and that is the Atlantic coast states. So a significant storm, a nor'easter type of storm, could be making an impact as we go through and beyond the middle of the month, around the 17th, and it makes its way up the Atlantic seaboard. Quiet across the rest of the nation until here is that cutoff low, working its way right through California, where it's been a very quiet start to the winter season. And look at this system as we carry it on in time. This is the 21st. It enters the Rockies. This system really weakens that ridge that was in place here in the western United States and allows future systems and waves of energy at the jet stream level to dive a little farther south, making entry into the lower 48. And that means we could have a storm system rolling out of the central Rockies, impacting travel in the nation's, well, breadbasket, if you will, heading right into, you're looking at Christmas Day. Now, this is not a guarantee, but a definite shift in the pattern. Is it agreed to by the model from the Europeans? Well, let's take a look at this. Here's our ridge that we have now at present time, blocking the pattern, if you will, a weak little wave moving through the midsection of the nation as we go through the 16th. This system also and model from the Europeans shows that as we get toward the 17th, we have it digging down into the Gulf Coast states and the potential for a nor'easter, a storm developing in the southeast and heading up the Atlantic seaboard. That again, timed perfectly with the American model from the 17th through the 19th. There, the ridge builds back up, but here comes that cutoff low forming right over California as we head into the week right moving into the Christmas holiday. And that system is going to be followed up by a more potent punch behind it. And that one could very well dig into the Central Rockies. That means, because the European model doesn't go out quite as far as the American model does, that both of these models do agree in part to the fact that we have a little bit of a breakdown of that ridge in the western part of the United States that's really been acting to keep things more active in the Pacific Northwest up here and less active in California. And that has impacted the weather in the northern plains, and that has impacted much of the winter season thus far across the central part of the United States. What does this look like, though, as we head toward the holidays? We'll go ahead and show you a look at number one, the nor'easter impacting the East Coast just past mid-month in that time frame of the 17th of December. And we'll take a look at that storm as we approach Christmas. Again, we're going to look at the European model first. So let me pull that up for you right now. Here it is. Now, this is a look ahead, and this is the European model, and we'll go ahead and focus on the lower 48. Here is the 16th and 17th, and boom, this European model shows a strong storm developing in the western reaches of Florida, in the eastern reaches of the Gulf of Mexico. This one deepens and strengthens and slides fairly quickly through the Carolinas and through the New England states, impacting much of the mid-Atlantic. And then as it dives into and mingles with the colder air, we could see some snow, heavy at that, in portions of New York state, particularly upstate New York from Rochester and Buffalo right up through New Hampshire and into Maine as we glide into the 19th. This is wind, this is snow, and by the way, when it's in the southeastern United States, we indeed could get very heavy rain and potentially some severe weather when things get fired off. Now, that is a look at the mid-month system on the European model. Got quiet all the way down until we see the system working its way onshore from the southwestern United States and low pressure deepening over the central and southern Rockies. This is on the 23rd, and that's a long ways out. Things can change, certainly. But it does show that there is a shift in that jet stream pattern. Now let's take a look at that American model as we wrap this discussion up. And we see, again, heading into the 17th of the month, Shazam, out in the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico, a deepening low pressure system, a strong storm that will carry its way up through the Carolinas. Again, this is the early hours of the 17th with strong showers and storms, heavy rain carrying its way up through the mid-Atlantic as we go through the 18th. And the 19th, the cold air mingles with the system and again brings snow to the mountains of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and some mixed precipitation as we get into the warmer air and coastal regions in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and points to the south. So now as we glide through the mid-month towards the holiday season, very quiet weather. Here's the first little wave impacting California that kind of does setting the stage for a breakdown of that ridge out to the west. And here comes the stronger punch of energy from the Aleutian Islands as we head into the 23rd of the month is what you're looking at here. This storm system works its way through the Rocky Mountains, and that storm system is going to bring a chance for some rain, sleet, and snow, according to the American model. And this is the 23rd, moving into the Central Plains and Northern Plains as we go into the holiday season. Does this mean that we're going to see a storm exactly where we see it on the charts that I just showed you now? No. What does it mean? Well, meteorologically speaking, we have a couple of models that show a major change as we go from, say, the 17th through the 23rd as to where the jet stream impacts the West Coast. And if that does indeed happen, we're going to see a better chance at seeing a more active pattern from California through the central and southern Rockies and into the central plains, just in time for the close of the month of December and many holiday travelers. I'll keep you advised. Again, I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I'm joining you from Fargo, North Dakota in the Northern Plains, but giving you a little bit of meteorological insight as to what these models mean, how we look at them, how we weigh them, and what we look for when we're talking about consistency between the models for us to have more confidence in our forecast. If you've liked this video, I'd sure like to have you like that, and I'd love to have you subscribe to my page. Be sure to click the little dingle bell next to the subscription button to get notifications of when I've updated you. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson wishing you a great rest of the week, and we will keep you updated to these pattern changes.